Welcome to the AP Now podcast, the podcast that covers trends, insights, and emerging issues impacting every accounts payable function. Your host, Mary Schaeffer, is the founder of AP Now, a B2B digital information and learning company focused on all issues related to AP. Stay tuned as Mary and her guests discuss the business intelligence you need to ensure a cost-effective, technologically efficient, fraud-resistant, regulatory-compliant accounts payable function. Without further ado, let's dive right in.
Welcome to episode 43 of the AP Now podcast. I'm Mary Schaeffer from AP Now, and I'm really lucky to have with me Teri Cook, who's returning for a repeat engagement to talk about using data for process improvements in accounts payable. She's a well-respected professional who's got a lot of experience in this area. So welcome back, Teri. Thanks for coming today to talk about process improvements and digging deeper past just automating invoices and expense reports. I'm really pleased that you're willing to come back and talk again.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate it. Boy, 43. This is the 43rd episode. I wish I could say that was my age.
Yeah. I'm just going to be polite and not comment on that for either of us, okay? So one of the things that you and I have done recently and a lot through the ages is we talk a lot about some of the common challenges that the accounts payable function and the team that manages accounts payable runs into. And I know you have some strong opinions on this and the way these are handled. So perhaps you could, kick the event off, if you will, by sharing some of them.
Sure. So process improvement, key, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look into digging deeper than just automating invoices and expense reports. That's one of the big things that we think about today is automation, invoices and expenses. But no one really thinks about duplicates. Let's automate that. So one of the biggest challenges in the accounts payable world is getting rid of the waste. The time-consuming, tedious tasks that no one likes to do, such as filing, taking out staples, scanning, even processing manual invoices and expense reports. But what about the manual process going through the different what-if reports to look for duplicate payments, fraud, policy violators, invoices paid to the wrong vendor, and so on, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So when I think of my staff having to do this manual process, my head and my eyes, oh my God, they just start to hurt. Because I remember having to do that job and I didn't like it. It was exhausting. And sometimes, probably most of the time, was very boring. I knew I needed to find something to automate the process. I wanted to find a better way for my team to become more proactive to catch duplicate payments, all these erroneous payments that were going out the door. And I wanted to know I wanted to find a way to keep our eyes on the vendor master file, the fraud detection, the audit control, ongoing targeting metrics, which would allow us to engage in constant business practices moving forward. For years, we used to lean on a third-party audit firm, which is great. But the firm would look at our data, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, before we would give them the data, we would scrub it ourselves manually, going through all those different reports, our eyes killing us, paper cuts, everything else, only for that third-party audit firm to catch more dupes that we didn't catch. And of course, the staff would feel pressure because senior management would ask, why? I thought you were scrubbing this. Why didn't, how could they catch it?
Yeah.
Especially if it was a high dollar amount.
Yeah.
What was that?
How could this have happened?
That's right. And then we'd end up having to pay the third-party audit firm about, I don't know, I can't remember, 22% up to 30% of the recovery.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, and this question just occurred to me. Before you turned the data over to the audit firm, would you do a statement audit yourself to try and collect that, or did you let the audit firm do the statement audit for you also?
Well, we used to look at the statements when we would get them. Sometimes they would go to the other departments and we wouldn't get them.
Okay.
But with that being said, we also gave the okay to the third-party audit firm to request the statements. And of course, that would be their first go-to.
Yep.
Because they would be able to catch.
Right. It's the easy money. Yep.
Yes.
So
it's the low-hanging fruit.
The low-hanging fruit, right. So can you talk a little bit about what some of the manual analytical processes you used to use were?
Sure.
Because I know a lot of people are still using them, by the way, and they're not so bad.
I guess they're not so bad if that's the way, if you have to do that. Right. It's been a while since I've been doing this. So some of the reports, if I can remember, same vendor, same amount, but different invoice number. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other one was like a different vendor, same amount, and same invoice number. So if it was a duplicate vendor in the system. Mm-hmm. And I know there were a few others that we had. Of course, there was a lot of false positives, just so you know.
Yep.
So that was another big time waster.
Yeah. I have a friend, Rich, who's a data analytics guy, and he has actually 120 different reports that you can use to potentially find duplicates and potential frauds. And he's always quite excited to talk about them, and they're quite interesting. But whenever he gets going, I'm like, Rich, nobody's going to look at 120 reports. But he says they're all useful, and I'm sure he's right. So along the same lines, sometimes I hear from people, we never make a duplicate payment, and we can't because our ERP won't let us. This always reminds me that people who say I never make a mistake, I always think, from your lips to God's ears. Do you hear this, and do you hear other common misconceptions?
Yes, because ERP systems, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't duplicate an invoice. Okay, but what happens if the invoice was keyed without a dash or with a dash? Do you have an invoice convention policy? Are you using it as key it as you see it, but the person who's seeing it isn't picking up that letter O?
Right.
They're putting a 0. So nothing's perfect.
Yep.
So you can still catch duplicates. Duplicates can still happen. And also with P cards. Companies are paying invoices off of P cards. And then that invoice is also coming in. And are the two talking to each other?
Right.
No.
Right.
So yes, I do hear that.
So one of the things that I used to hear is when somebody would pay for something with a P card, and the vendor would still send the invoice, and you go back to the vendor and you'd say, why? And they'd say, oh, we can't suppress the printing of an invoice. And then they'd put in little tiny letters on the invoice, already paid with a credit card.
Right.
Yeah.
And if someone's looking at that, they're not looking for that little.
No, because it's in size 8 font. And light gray print.
Right. They want you to miss it.
Right. They're not trying to fool you, though.
No.
Yeah. So Teri, you decided that there had to be a better way?
Yes. I was looking for some technology companies that would be able to help solve the issues we were having. So I started searching the internet, and I came across a company who had everything I was looking for, and actually much more. I wanted to find a way where my team could be more proactive. I also wanted to find technology that would cut the cost. I wanted the technology that would offer a full service recovery at our fingertips. Mayor had to think, I almost said finger toes. Fingertips.
Good going.
Yeah. And also the root cause of errors and the recoveries that we made. So as soon as we would find the duplicate, to be able to stop it from going out the door. And I also wanted to be able to find a tool that offered metrics and things like that.
So Teri, did I hear you say that it stopped the duplicates before you made them?
Yeah, so when you process invoices in your ERP system,
right,
and it didn't catch the duplicate,
it happens.
This system, this tool it's a shark. It eats up all the data, and it would give you suspects.
Okay.
but it's right there. And they would do it does a comparison, and it would populate and say that this one was a possible dupe, and to look at it before you release the payment. And 9 times out of 10, it was a pretty good catch.
Okay.
And it was a duplicate.
So when you were doing your manual system, you got some false positives. I think I heard you say that. What was the percentage that when you went back and researched, turned out that they were, hey, you know what, this is a legitimate payment. It was a false positive. Do you remember in the manual
When it
world?
was manual?
Yeah.
Oh God, there was a lot. I think we had more false positives.
Then you had actuals.
Yes. But guess what? There were really actuals, but we
Yeah.
weren't finding them because the third-party audit firm found them
Oh
for us.
God. Also adding
You know?
insult to injury, you're doing all this work, which probably was killing everybody's eyeballs, and then you
Yeah,
were
and
still missing some.
Right, because you get exhausted, and you know the phone rings, so then you get distracted and you don't know where you left off at, or maybe the person's on vacation, and it was just really tedious.
Yeah, it is.
Really, and it's not motivating.
No,
Not motivating at all.
no, and not fun work. No, not fun.
No.
Whenever I see like the spreadsheets with, numbers, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to sleep, which is not a
Right.
good situation. Okay, so Teri, I'm listening to you talk. How is it possible that this is less expensive than a traditional audit?
Well, in the first month, we recovered the annual cost of the tool. And not only that, I didn't have to worry about modifying my reports when it didn't pick something up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to go back to the reports and have them modified because they had to be tweaked.
Right.
So that also was a cost savings. It automatically prevented the payment errors and delivered the results directly to the AP staff, day and night, rain or shine.
Mm-hmm.
The new tool, the technology system that we use. That didn't happen when it was manual.
Okay.
Right? So that right there was a savings.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it really, just the staff, it increased the staff's motivation and their morale.
Mm-hmm.
And the technology tool that we use, it's great. You like using it. I mean, we like using it.
Okay.
So it was definitely a lot more exciting than having to go through lines and lines.
Right.
Lines and,
So did I hear you say that it helped improve morale?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. People actually didn't mind doing it. They had smiles on their face, and they were so excited when they'd find something.
Good. All right, that's a good thing. So before we come to the end, you've been very good about it, but can I ask you what the name of this company was?
Sure, it's Data Shark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to know more about Data Shark, they can certainly just send me a message through LinkedIn. Or, of course, Mary, they can just send something to AP Now, and then you can forward it to me. No problem.
All righty. Well, Teri, thanks again for a really interesting conversation and some really good insights. I hope you'll come back.
Definitely. I love coming to your show.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone who's listening for listening, and take a moment to ask you to give us a thumbs up if you've liked this, or to share it with your staff on LinkedIn and other social media sites. Hope to see you again on another AP Now podcast.